Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and this evening we warmly welcome the family of Private Henry Prichard Green. His story will be told shortly by Warrant Officer Class 2 Stacey Bolton from the Australian Army, who is the great niece of Private Henry Prichard Green. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and their families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return in Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of St Mary MacKillop College from Busselton, Western Australia. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Henry Prichard Green. Henry Green was born in Hughenden, Queensland on the 15th of August 1920. Known affectionately as Poogie, he was the fourth of 15 children born to English immigrant Harry Green and his wife Mary. Henry and his family remained in Hughenden throughout his childhood. He attended the local school before finding work as a station hand in the area. Henry enlisted in the Australian Military Forces at Hughenden in July 1939, but had to wait until November 1941 to start his initial training. He was transferred from the militia to full-time duty in February 1942 and completed his mobilisation enrolment form in late March. While in initial training, Henry ran into trouble with his officers for disappearing from camp for 3 days and was confined to barracks for a week as punishment. This would not be the last time Henry found absent without leave. He was fined £3 in September 1942 for disappearing for a week while in the field in Australia. Although Henry had completed his initial training with the 26th Battalion as a private, he was transferred to the 15th Battalion in late December 1942, following a week of home leave in early November. The 15th Battalion had initially been mobilised to undertake defensive home duties along the coast of southeast Queensland in response to the threat of potential Japanese invasion in early 1942. By the time Henry joined in late December, the battalion had been transferred to the 29th Brigade as a garrison force in Townsville. On the 9th of January 1943, Private Henry Green left Australia in the Taroona, bound for New Guinea. The 15th Battalion was deployed to serve as garrison troops in the areas that had been secured by Allied forces and was stationed at Milne Bay for the first 6 months of 1943. Halfway through July, the 15th Battalion was sent to Buna before moving to Morobe, and at the end of the month, in August, the battalion began moving to Nassau Bay, then Timbu Bay, to take part in the Salamaua campaign. In 1943, Salamaua became a focus of Allied strategy, but was not a goal in its own right. Allied operations were launched towards Salamaua along the coast and through the mountains from Wau to divert the Japanese attention from Lae, the Allies' main objective. On the 1st of September 1943, the 15th Battalion were approaching Salamaua from the area near Timbu Bay when they came under fire from determined enemy attacks. At some stage during the fighting, Private Henry Green was killed in action. He was 23 years old. Ultimately, 4 Green brothers served in the Second World War. Jim alongside Henry in the 15th Battalion, Alfred with the 13th Australian Personal Staging Camp in Australia, and David as a temporary corporal with the Royal Australian Air Force. Jim, Alfred and David all survived the war. In the years following his death, Henry, family and friends back home in Australia inserted several commemorative notices in local papers on the anniversary of his death. In 1948, his older brother Edgar inserted a short poem in memory of his brother, which read, "A gallant soldier has gone to rest, not dead to those who loved him best." Henry's remains were initially buried at Timbu Bay, and in January 1946, they were exhumed and reinterred in the Lae War Cemetery. His Commonwealth War grave headstone bears the inscription selected by his grieving parents. His memory lives, love son of Mr. and Mrs. H. Green of Hughenden, Queensland. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Henry Prichard Green, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.